Good afternoon. Welcome to the Ways and Means Committee meeting for February 27th. If you would please stand and join me in a pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Stockin.
Present.
Mr. Fanton. Mrs. Burdick.
Here.
Mr. Demick.
Here.
Mr. Havey.
Here.
Mr. Healy.
Here.
Mr. Ricky.
Here.
Mrs. Root.
Here.
And Mr. Harris. 7 present, 1 absent.
Thank you. We need approval of the minutes from February 12.
Root will make that motion.
Demick will second that.
Any questions, discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, and they're carried. Thank you. The audit was sent to you a couple different ways. Can we have a motion to approve that?
Rick, you move. Healy will second.
Are there any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, and that's carried. At this time, our county administrator has 6 items for us, if I counted correctly. Carissa, good afternoon.
We were busy while we were at NISAC writing MOEs for today. So, good afternoon. The first MOE is related to the Dwyer program. And these would be the acceptance of a donation of 200 building kits. These are small building kits that could be distributed to nursing homes or homebound veterans. And the value of that is about $2,000. We do need a resolution to accept a donation.
Healy will move it.
Havey will second.
Thank you. What's a building kit?
I think Ms. Short has described some of them as like building little bird houses, and small things like you might see if you were to walk into Lowe's or Home Depot, that they work on those little kits. The kids have something kid-based. This might be a little bit more adult-based.
Other questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, and that's carried. Thank you.
Okay, the next one is related to STAG funding for the Gateway project for infrastructure improvements. And this is authorization to apply for more grant funding to go towards that overall project.
Healy will move it.
Root will second.
Are there questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
On these next 3 grants, there's county share, while the one comes from the IDA. Do we know where that money's coming from?
So for this particular one, we've been using the Economic Development Fund balance, or the dedicated fund that you put aside to go towards the Waterline project to get the Gateway area site ready. That being said, we've been using grants to match each other so that the total match isn't coming out of that. And this is going to be going towards a match we're already applying. So we just keep trying to dwindle down that local share number with more grants.
That money that was set aside was actually set aside, it wasn't for economic development down there, not just the water line, but all economic development, if I remember right.
It was set aside for economic development. However, the amount you set aside was coincidentally the same amount that if you had to pay out of pocket at that point in time, that was the approximate number that would be required to pay out of pocket for those improvements. That number is no longer the true number. The numbers, inflation has risen quite a bit. So again, the theory is you would be using a portion of that amount to go towards this, but hopefully not all of it.
Which all goes for economic development.
Correct.
Thank you.
But I have a question, Chris.
Yes, ma'am.
When you use that money, does that not have to come back to the board for us to approve it before that money can be taken out of it?
Correct, every single time.
Has it? I mean, how much have we used?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember. However, I do know your Delta contracts, your annual contracts for Delta has come out of that, and those resolutions, I believe, has had that transfer.
That's come out of
I
that?
believe so, since we've had Delta. The theory being you're using the payment to Delta to get the grants to go towards economic development.
I wasn't aware of that.
We can go back on those resolutions and check, but I think that's what you've done.
Other questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, and that's carried.
This next one, they just spent quite a bit of time going over this right beforehand, and ideally, we probably would have worded this one a little bit differently, but this is your County Road 46 bridge in Candia, which has not been operational in some time. This would be a project to build a brand-new bridge there and also take the current bridge and turn that into a tourism trail with the old bridge. This grant is for $750,000. There is no match on this grant. And this grant would be only going towards the Phase A planning process. The Phase A planning process is 1.25 or $1,250,000. So this would not cover, this grant would not cover that total project cost. There would be a $500,000 gap. That being said, there is money aside. Currently, we've had old money for that bridge. I don't believe Terry's here yet to run that account number, but I think there's approximately $100,000 in that old money that we've had for that old County Road 46 bridge that we could apply towards that if we don't get other grant funding. This would be one we'd continue to go look for other grant funding on. And I think we have talked about this both in an economic development sense, but also a public safety sense. As we know, when County Road 26 went down in Belfast, that huge gap going up 19 in the north section, trying to run any ambulances, fire, even school transportation. There's just not very many bridges north of our expressway to the top of the county. So we were looking at it both public safety and economic development.
Well, it's 4 miles from that bridge, where that bridge location was, to the Belfast Bridge. I've been up there, I clocked it. So you'd think that 4 miles makes that big of a difference? And, so, I mean, a bridge, if you put a bridge back, we've discussed this in previous boards, and even the District 1 people didn't get behind it in previous boards. That they didn't think it was cost-effective because obviously the cost of a bridge is forever. So I don't know, I'd like to hear from the treasurer, I guess, before I voted anyways, and maybe look into it a little bit further. But on the other hand, if this is just Phase A,
It's Phase A, and it's the application to apply for the grant. We'd still have to get the grant, you'd have to accept it, sign agreements and other things. So, I mean, if the board does not want to do this, that's fine, but if there's any interest, we should at least be exploring external funding sources to go towards that interest.
well, under those terms, I guess I can support that.
Demick will move it. Rick, you'll second for discussion.
Further discussion or questions?
Yes, Carissa, can you refresh my memory? It says the project is 16 million. How do we know that? I don't remember how it came about. Did we hire somebody, or did?
I believe Tom has done a lot of research on this cost, and we were just trying to meet and go over that before today's meeting. However, we didn't have his brain power available this morning to give us where he was drawing those numbers from. But I believe he's the one that came up with those numbers.
So they still have to go out for bid?
They would, and this would just, yes, this would just be the planning process, and then you've got to bid the actual construction. You
Okay,
have to
so-
have some sort of idea budget-wise for the grant applications of what you'd be looking at.
And same for the Phase A. We got it, that's going out to, you got to bid that too?
You would, I believe, at least go out for RFQs.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Several of these are coming federal monies. What happens if that money gets cut? Is that end the project? I mean, that's a lot of money coming from the federal government, and right now, I don't know if we have any guarantees on that money.
Well, I would hope they wouldn't award it. So obviously, we have a new administration in DC that has been going through and scrubbing information on previous awards that are currently under contract. I would hope that same administration would not be signing brand-new contracts if they didn't intend to honor them. That being said, if this goes away, we just would not be doing the project. And I'd hope that we would know that before we start the project.
Other questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that's passed.
The next one's a little bit more straightforward. This is a CDBG grant. This is our micro enterprise grants that we've been using with small businesses. We've had IDA as our subrecipient to administer this grant. It's gone very well. We did find out that there was additional money that we could be using towards this program. We just need to extend our contract and add that money towards it. And we've talked about this, I think, before. I think Dr. Clark was here to talk about this. And this is just the formal MOE that would accept that additional funding, which we were awarded, modify the budget, and allow a modification to the current agreement.
I'll make the motion.
Ricky, second.
And just to make a comment, I believe I was reading a report from the IDA, and they helped 10 companies last year through the last round of grants. 10 local companies that have been benefited from this.
All local small businesses, I believe.
Other questions, comments? All in favor? Opposed? And that's carried.
And then the last MOE is also related to the Dwyer program. We kind of started with Dwyer, we're ending with Dwyer on these MOEs. This one is for a resolution authorizing a contract with Beaver Hollow Resort. This would allow training for our veterans on suicide prevention. So we would be able to go to Beaver Hollow, which I believe, I think Brent Schlafer might use them as well for some of the officer wellness. I believe they do a great job out there. We'd be sending veterans for suicide prevention training.
Demick will move it.
Vertical second.
Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? And that's carried.
I think that's all I had for you. Thank you.
Before you go, Carissa, can I just, and this, I don't know if this is the appropriate time, but because it came up, could we circle back? And could you, at a later date, give us an update on how much money we've spent out of that economic development fund? To see how
Absolutely.
much we have left?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And in addition, what it went to?
Absolutely, we can do that. Thank you.
Cursor, I have 3 others on your list of things from you.
Well,
An ARC Power
you know,
funding?
I did submit more, but I'm not seeing them in my packet. They're on the first page on the agenda, but I don't see the actual MOEs, but I could go through them if you wanted to.
Because I've got them.
I'd be happy to get them moving, trust me. It makes it easier to apply once we have these taken care of.
Yeah, I was confused.
Pardon?
Doesn't take a lot. We're good.
Okay, well, you want to do the ARC Power one?
Sure.
Okay, the ARC Power one would be a cultural development center, funding to go towards that project out at the Gateway location. And this is really the IDA's land. This is the IDA's idea, and they would be looking to help us by providing the funds. We'd be looking to help them by going after the grant for them.
I'll make a motion.
Helio, second.
Discussion.
I do see that matching funds is identified as IDA. We'll be matching that.
Can you tell us exactly what a cultural design development center is and what it's going to be used for?
So a cultural center could be maybe thought of like a visitor center, that you could also have possible offices or training space, and you could have exhibits for space for local artisans to be out there either displaying their art or providing hands-on demonstrations. It'd be small, it'd be near the expressway exit and the hotel, possible hotel and restaurants, and we now have Quickly's there. It would just add to the overall destination of making sure you get off of that exit to stop there for things. And showcasing what we have in the rest of the county to hopefully spread the people that are from out of the county stopping, make sure they visit other areas in the county.
When I've heard him talk about it in the past, it's like a welcome center. And when you head south in Virginia, I think it's in Virginia, there's a really nice one that he has seen
That's what they talked about, yeah.
and want to kind of pattern after that, only probably on a smaller basis.
The Elford State students have done some mock-up sketches of what you could put on a site that size, and they're pretty neat. I'm sure Dr. Clark would be happy to share some of those ideas with you.
Well, I can ask him to come to the P&D with those mock-ups and talk a little bit more about it in a future meeting.
Thank you. Other comments? All in favor? Opposed? And that's carried.
I'm missing one more, you believe? Is that the Empire State Development Grant?
I can keep them straight
All
here.
right, let me see what I can find.
Yes.
Yeah, there's one,
Okay, this is another grant that would go towards the match on the overall water line project. So again, looking at a tower, a booster tank to add to, I believe, the water pressure on the current water line.
That'd be for fire control, right? Basically.
Correct.
Root will make the motion.
Helio, second.
is there question, discussions? All in favor? Opposed? And that's carried.
I will make another comment, though. I do see, I just want to put it out there, I do see that the matching fund we're using another grant to do the matching, so that's how you were talking about,
Correct.
one does the other. so.
You're stacking those grants
Yeah.
so that hopefully none of the match hits the fund balance. I have to say that when you put in a grant application, you do have to usually assure, especially the federal government, that you have funds available for that match. So we've got to identify some fund out there, but the idea is we hope we never have to touch it by stacking other grants.
Do we vote yet?
Yeah.
We did. Yeah, okay.
Well, I think that's it now.
You're on a roll if you want to keep going.
I think that's enough for today. Thank you very much.
Okay, we have referrals from committees, personnel.
Election Commissioners Brent Reynolds and Mike McCormick are requesting permission to create and fill 2 full-time election clerk positions in the Board of Elections pending approval to create the positions at the board meeting this afternoon. The annual salary of each position is estimated to be $36,000 with benefits. These positions are funded 100% with county funds and are not included in the 2025 budget, and I will move that.
Demick will second.
Questions?
Sorry. They're not in the budget, and I know we've talked about this. Could you please tell us where the money's going to come to fund these positions?
So for these positions, you would be using contingency set aside for vacant positions. So the budget comes out, all department heads are looking to put positions in there that are vacant. We take them out because we don't believe every department's going to fill them come January 1st, and that we could save money in the budget by putting them in contingency. So these would be coming out of contingency, and I believe Terry's going to prepare a transfer from contingency for Board of Elections, and I believe, forgive me, I can't remember, you just approved another department to have positions created as well. So, yes, Economic Development, I believe it was.
Other questions? All in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. Deep breath, Human Services.
All right, here we go. Director of Office for the Aging, Anita Madison, is requesting a resolution to finalize federal revenue from the Medicare Improvements for Patient Provider Act grant. The Office for the Aging budget is $16,384 in the 25 county budget, but they will receive $22,159 in federal funding in 2025, and she has shown how it will be appropriated, and the total additional revenue is $5,775, and I will move that.
Hayville, second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Ms. Madison is requesting a resolution to accept and appropriate $28,950 in federal funds under the American Rescue Plan and $4,100 in client contributions under the same program. This is the final funding administered to area agencies on aging to support expenses and increase services offered including COVID-19 vaccine assistance, home care, home-delivered meals, and PERS. And these funds will be appropriated in a total amount of $28,950, and I will move that.
Demick will second.
Questions? All in favor? Opposed? And that's passed.
Ms. Madison is requesting permission to fill one full-time aging services technician position in the Office for the Aging. The annual salary of this position is estimated to be between $42,600 and $51,800 with benefits. The position is funded with 5% county and 95% state funds and is included in the 2025 budget, and I will move that.
Root will second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Deputy Public Health Director Jamie Darcy is requesting a resolution to accept and appropriate climate and health adaptation initiative monies for the general fund and 2025 budget year. This funding was awarded to Allegheny County by the New York State Association of County Health Officials in conjunction with the New York State Department of Health. The funding will focus on preventing and responding to arthropod-borne diseases. And that includes the money will be used to procure program supplies, including insect repellent tick kits and educational materials. And that is in a total of $5,000, and I will move that.
Ricky, a second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Ms. Darcy is requesting a resolution to perform a budget modification to reappropriate all remaining unspent grant funding associated with the New York State Environmental Facilities Site Septic System Replacement Program. This grant reimburses property owners up to 50% for new septic systems, and this is for properties only within 200 feet of the Canacadia Creek with septic systems that are failing or likely to fail per the program outline. As of January 1st, 2025, the grant has remaining unexpended funding of $2,817.50, and I will move that.
Demick will second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's passed.
Ms. Darcy is requesting a resolution to perform a budget modification to reappropriate all remaining unspent grant funding associated with the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation State Septic System Replacement Program, which is very similar to the one we previously passed, but this one is for properties located in proximity to the upper Genesee River with septic systems that are failing or likely to fail per the program outline. As of January 1st, the grant has remaining unexpended funding of $100,000, and I will move that.
Havy will second.
Questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Ms. Darcy is requesting permission to fill one full-time nurse practitioner position. The annual salary of this position is estimated to be $137,025 with benefits. It is funded with 86% state and 14% federal, and this position is included in the 2025 budget, and this is for the Department of Health, and I will move that.
Ricky, a second.
Questions?
I just like to comment
Yes.
that I think that this will actually save us money in the long run, and that we've always have a challenge trying to get nurse practitioners. So hopefully everything will work out to the positive on this. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Commissioner of Social Services Don Horn is requesting a resolution to accept and appropriate New York State Office of Children and Family Services awards for youth team sports in the amount of $22,818 and youth sports and education opportunity in the amount of $20,000. This request is dependent on the Allegheny County Attorney's approval of the request for proposal that youth team organizations will use to apply for an award. And I will move that.
Leo, second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Mr. Horn is requesting permission to fill one full-time account clerk typist in the Department of Social Services. The annual salary of this position is estimated to be between $36,000 and $42,000 with benefits. This position is funded with 38% county, 10% state, and 52% federal, and this position is included in the 2025 budget, and I will move that.
Demick will second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And finally, Mr. Horn is requesting permission to fill one full-time senior support investigator position and all subsequent backfills in the Department of Social Services. The annual salary of this position is estimated to be between $46,000 and $58,000 with benefits. This position is funded with 66% federal funds and offset by TANF and SN collections, and is included in the 2025 budget, and I will move that.
Hayfield, second.
Is there discussion? All in favor? Opposed? And that's passed. Thank you, ma'am. Planning and Economic Development, Ms. Root.
Thank you. Deputy County Administrator Tim Boyd is requesting a resolution for a renewal contract with Delta Development for comprehensive public funding strategy services to leverage local, state, and federal funding to advance projects in Allegheny County. This contract is for $90,000, and I will move that.
Ricky, second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried.
Director of Planning Keir Durham is requesting permission to fill one full-time office aide position in the Planning Department. The annual salary of this position is estimated to be between, am I reading this right? $6,000 and $7,000, with annual benefits of $1,000 to $1,500. This position is funded 100% by the county and it is included in the 2025 budget. I will move that.
Second. Healy.
Questions?
I have a question. I
That's a
don't,
summer, I think that's a summer position.
Oh,
It just
yeah.
dawned on me what
It's a summer
it
help.
was. I'm sorry.
Other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Director of Economic Development Ashley Smith is requesting a resolution authorizing the county to accept grant funds from the I Love New York State Aid Program in the amount of $49,000. Funding has been made available in an amount not to exceed total project costs of $49,000 with a county match share of $49,000. The resolution authorized the acceptance of the award as well as the county administrator to sign all paperwork, and it tells how it's going to be appropriated, and I will move that.
Ricky, second.
Is there discussion? All in favor? Opposed? And that's carried.
Employment and Training Director Rita Sobeck Lynch is requesting a resolution to accept an appropriated donation of funds awarded to help students pay for tuition and supportive of services by the Allegheny County Area Foundations. It is in the amount of $5,000, and I will move that.
Healy, second.
Questions? All in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Thank you, one and all. That's all the referrals I have. Is there any unfinished business? New business? Good of the order?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would be delighted to have a short caucus in the DPW conference room at 1:40.
Thank you. Anything else for good of the order? Motion to adjourn?
Chemical move.
Hayfield.
All in favor?